Okay, we are back almost between 15-30 minutes. Uh, put away the Mirage set that we had just gone through. This is kind of nice. 724 cards, 230 something dollars. I'm going to go through Visions and Weatherlight now. Let's go ahead and look up Visions. We'll start with that. We'll just start out by kind of looking, hey, what's what's cards that are worth money? Um, so I have this group by rarity, sort by price. So Vampiric Tutor right at the top, but there's also a few other cards here that are, you know, decent. You know, you have 7 cards worth over $10, 8 cards worth over $10. They're uh, rares. And, I mean, a few other cards that are worth over $5. Getting down here, what's like quite a few cards before you get down to this $1 mark on Visions, and that are rares. So going down to uncommons, it's not as much for Axiom Walker. I'm pretty sure I saw for Axiom Walker in here when I was sorting them out, just because I thought that card was interesting with the 0 mana cost, and it's a 0/3 creature. So it's just a blocker you can put down uh, your first turn. Um, it is worth like $1 or something. So only 2 uncommon cards here are worth anything. The other one's Vision Charm. Uh, at least right now, those are the 2 cards that are worth something. Match the Gathering prices are always changing. Actually, did I skip all the way down to commons? Yeah, okay, those were the commons. Let's go back to the uncommons. Come on, uncommons. Here you go. Goblin Recruiter, Necromancy, Prosperity, Uktabi Orangutan. No, because it destroys an artifact when it enters. It's a 2/2 creature, I guess. So, a few cards are worth $1. Unfortunately, so our lands, you would think that there'd be some lands up there. Our basic lands, I don't even know if there were any basic lands in Visions. It could be what's going on there. So, because with these older sets, we found. So when we did Ice Age, snow-covered lands were worth something. Mirage, there were like 6 different lands that I guess people just like the artwork. They were worth something. Anyway, so we have 2 stacks of Visions, a little bit less cards than what we did with Ice Age and Mirage, but I've gone ahead and pulled out Weatherlight, which actually have a little bit less than what's in Visions, but close to the same amount. So we're going to say it's still probably going to be, you know, 700 cards roughly, maybe a little bit more actually. These ones I've definitely noticed, like these first 3 cards. I mean that those have some wear on them. I don't know if maybe somebody had them in their car driving a long time. It's almost like they vibrated against each other. Um, and I mean, some of the army ants pay 3 mana and you get to sacrifice one of your lands to destroy a target land. Okay, destroying a target land's pretty good, but sacrificing one of your own lands to do it and paying 3 mana when I know there's some land cards out there that are there's just some cards out there that just let you destroy land and only pay mana, or destroy land and all you're doing is sacrificing one of your lands. So there's just better versions out there of that card, or better versions, better cards that do similar or better things. So we'll see if we hit on anything decent in these. So far, not. Wow. Kind of crazy that, well, it's because it's not Division 1. I was going to say, I'm surprised that's only like 2 cents. The cards that are older are usually worth at least a base amount of a few cents, just because if somebody's going to want to get a set of Magic the Gathering cards, well, people that are collecting, a lot of times they're going to want to start with the older stuff. So more people interested in collecting the older stuff, and you're also going to have less of it out there on the market, just because people have gotten rid of their cards. This set's copyright 1996, so 20 something years old, 28, something like that. Um, so you know, how many people have kept their Visions cards? Uh, 69-cent card and 3 copies, so that gets us over $5 so far, but 2 copies of Python. Here's another 2 Emerald Charms that and like I'd love to say, hey, it's a land. Some of these lands are sometimes worth something, but you know what? I'm pretty sure all the Visions lands are going to be uncommons, and we already looked, and our uncommons weren't worth anything. You would maybe think the quickstand would be. I mean, add a colorless mana and then sacrifice it to give a creature that doesn't have flying -1/-2. So sacrifice it to get rid of. I think that was there we go. First card that's over $1. Um, yeah, totally on a roll. $1 card. Not we'll see. I'm probably going to jinx myself, but you know, that first stream that I did with Ice Age, you know, pulling 8 Hydroblasts and then 8 Mystic Remoras, you know, maybe it spoiled me a little bit that I'm going to get some better cards in here. You know, that was just a cool moment to kind of be like, oh, there, you know, that's a dollar card. It's a rare. let's see, what is that rare? Each During each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature or loses, or that player loses 5 life, and you bury Pillar Tombs of Aku. I mean, for 4 mana, uh, I mean, let's be honest. A lightning bolt does 3 damage. Sure, maybe it forces another player to sacrifice a creature, but if they sacrifice a creature, it comes back to you, and you have to sacrifice a creature during your upkeep, or you take 5 damage yourself. So, potential for that to backlash, um, which, yeah, so I can see why that's uh, only worth a little bit of money. Impulse. Is the Vision's Impulse worth anything? No, the Vision's Impulse is not worth something. Always kind of sad to see, hey, that's a good card, and then, oh, well, in another set, it's a good card. It's not in this set. That just, okay. Not Dragon Griffin. Dragon Griffin would maybe be interesting, but looks like I maybe haven't sorted through this as much. I mean, like, boy, you just draw 2 cards. That would be great if it didn't cost 4 mana. So, even then, it's blue card. There's better blue cards out there. Draw cards. Although they'll cost you more than, yeah, 10 cents. Two copies. Coercion. Another Tar Pit Warrior. I think I had that earlier, and I know I had this Python earlier. It's disturbing. I remember the cards that I have to click on and change the set, and more than the cards that I don't have to do that with. Sorry, I had to cough there a little bit. Another coercion, which means I back. Man, part of me almost wishes Magic the Gathering. Look at that. What is that? Another coercion. This one hasn't scanned yet. I mean, at the very least, can't Mana Box recognize, hey, this card has a black border? Like, if it has a black border, maybe it's not from a set that had white borders. Oh, and look at that. Another Python sitting right on top. Well, I'm starting to get a bad feeling about that Visions is not going to have anything great in it. I mean, I guess 2 cards worth $1 isn't atrocious, but a whole bunch of these Infernal Harvests. Wouldn't that be nice if that was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those? Uh, 14 cents each, though. 6 of them, and we didn't even break $1. 3, 4, 5. And another Infernal. Maybe we broke $1 now. Okay. I'm. Well, I guess there's at least 4 of these coercions in a row. Do I see any others? It looks like it's mostly blue. Uh, Flooded shoreline. Oh, well, I mean, that barely meets our cutoff of saying, hey, those are over $1. 4 copies of Flooded Shoreline. So, look, another impulse. I just remember that because it's over $1 and then not $1 in Visions. Four, five, six, seven. I mean, that doesn't seem. Enchanted creature cannot be the target of spells or effects. And you can play as an instant, but then it goes away. Then return. Lots of inspirations there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey. Good time we be. And we have 7 impulses. Breeze Keeper. Six. Wait. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought it's 7. I mean, 3. Betrayal kind of seems like a decent card. Yeah, okay, say, hey, I'm putting down this creature that you're planning on tapping a whole bunch of times, and now every time you tap it, I get to draw a card too. Or, you know, yeah, throw that on a what's the elf? I want to say Findhorn elf, but that's the Llanowar elf, I think. Llanowar elf, tap and you get a green mana. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's always interesting. I mean, 11 of something. Uh, yeah, throw it on land aware elf and then make your opponent, kind of go, okay, well, I played this land aware elf or birds of prey or whatever, to get mana out of it. But now, every time I tap this for 1 mana, I give my opponent 1 card. Like, I would think that would be maybe upsetting. Wait, what? Did that just say every time it's tapped? If it becomes tapped, draw a card. I could see some interesting plays there with oh, by the way, your I have cards that tap my opponent's creatures. And so you decided not to tap me that card. Well, not only do you not get the mana or whatever ability the tapping that card gives you, but I'm going to go ahead and draw a card anyway. Seven resistance fighters. Okay. Well, I mean, this isn't a complete bust. Hey, look at that. 8 resistance fighters? No use scanning that. Another time. Come on. I thought that took it. A 1/1 with protection from red and flying. You would think 3 mana, return 2 creatures to owner's hand. You would think that would maybe be worth a decent card, but 3, 4, 5. Interesting. Getting lots of 5 copies in this. Raging Gorilla. Keeper of Kukus? Wait, that's a 3? Yeah, 3. Now, of course, there's the other 3 Raging Gorillas. Another spider. I always kind of, when I saw this card, you know, thought that, hey, maybe that's worth something, but no, it's worth 19 cents. I mean, I guess it costs 4 mana to play, and then you can tap it and get 2 mana. So, by the time you get up there to where you can go ahead and play that, and then it takes 2 turns to pay back for itself. Yeah, maybe it's not worth anything. Although, stacks getting a bit high, so 4, 5. I always thought that was maybe a decent card, the Gossamer Chains. Maybe if it was 1 mana, then people would have thought it was pretty decent. Because, I mean, I guess my question is, so it's an enchantment. So I guess you have to cast it on your turn, right? And then you return it to your hand. It does no, uh, that creature does no damage. So either if it was 1 mana and then you're like, hey, every turn I can, cast this on one of your creatures that's coming up, and then, when you attack with that creature, it's not going to do any damage to me. Like, maybe that would be worth it. Um, you know, but with it being 2 mana, right? That means that you can't play it for a while, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So, Snake Basket, and there's that Phyrexian Walker that I was talking about. That's worth over $1. But yeah, if it was an instant 2 mana, like, hey, 2 mana, it returns to my hand, and your card doesn't do any damage. That would be interesting. Actually, that would be really interesting if it was like maybe 3 mana. I mean, maybe there. I don't know enough. I was hearing something recently about there being 20 something thousand unique Magic cards, Magic the Gathering cards. I mean, that's a lot of cards. Um, so maybe there's something that's already does something like that, or is even better than that out there. But like, it would be interesting to have an instant that returns to your hand and stops combat damage, uh, type thing. And that would combo off of even things like storm cards, right? Because it's based on how many spells you cast. So I cast it, I get back to me, I cast again. So that would be ridiculously overpowered if it was 1 mana and an instant. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Was that yeah, okay. Target unblocked creature deals no combat damage this turn. I mean, so could you cast that and then return it before attackers are declared? Yeah. Yeah, there's an interesting video I saw earlier today. It was I mean, it was set up where what it wasn't a legitimate game, but it was judges like mock game where they were setting up a situation where somebody called, and so it was a card where during somebody's upkeep, 5, 6, 7, so that's 7. Uh, During somebody's upkeep, like they have an option going down to 4 life, giving somebody 5/2/2 zombie creatures, or discarding their hand. Then they have to choose one that they haven't had happen to them before, type thing. Um, and so they had set it up so that the guy says, calls the judges over. He skipped his trigger phase, right? He skipped this detrimental trigger. You was supposed to discard his hand. He didn't discard his hand. He said upkeep, didn't do it, and then drew a card. So he should have to discard all the cards in his hand, including the card he drew. Because how do the judges or anybody determine, which card do you draw? I don't know which card he drew. It's actually kind of funny. One of the judges, like it was like training judges, they were like, well, we can make a determination on which card he drew and have him like go back and put it on his deck, and the other no, we don't do that, and type thing. And oh, by the way, how do you know which card he drew? Because the judge that was saying they're playing starts, he has 2 cards in his hand, starts going like this to you know, it's like I'll tell you right now, we have no idea which card he drew. Yeah, there's another dollar something card. Um, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I have to count. Um, and but it was funny because the guy who, skipped the trigger is like, well, the other guy's cheating because he didn't remind me of the trigger and it's his card. Right, but okay, but it's not his responsibility to remind you of the trigger because you're the one who controls the card. Even though the other guy's the owner of the card, you control the card. And are you cheating because you said that you purposely didn't do it? You said upkeep, looked at the other guy to see if he would remind you, and then went on and didn't do it. Right? It doesn't say you may do this, it says you have to do, it's a trigger that has to go into effect. Right? So is he cheating? Well, the judges were saying, okay, like you have 3 things that you have to determine to say that somebody's cheating. Did they break a rule? Did they intentionally break the rule? Right? And did they do it in order to gain an advantage? It's kind of interesting because I guess you could break a rule, you could intentionally break the rule, you didn't do it to gain an advantage. Um, it's actually kind of interesting with some of yeah, they've seen a judge ruling recently. Well, I guess they're not saying somebody cheated in those cases, but anyway, completely different thing. But so since the guy skipped his trigger, he broke a rule. right? He did it to gain an advantage, but he didn't intentionally, like, he didn't knowingly, like, intentionally break the. He didn't know he had broken a rule, right? Is the difference. So he wasn't cheating by skipping the trigger, right? Because he said upkeep. He thought it was the other guy's responsibility to remind him of that trigger. If the other guy didn't remind him of the trigger, then he thought he didn't have to do anything. Even though it was breaking a rule, I'm not, I'm just not reminding somebody of something that that impacts me, that it's their responsibility to remind me about. Um, Now he said, well, it's the other guy that was cheating because the last two turns he reminded me of that. And so, and they go, well, okay, that's interesting. They talk to the other guy, and the other guy's like, oh yeah, I knew that he had to do that. And I knew he hadn't done it. I knew I reminded him the last two turns, but I wasn't going to remind him this time because once he drew the card, then he'd have to withdraw his entire hand, both cards. Okay, well, so is that cheating? Well, according, okay, you have to. He knowingly, you know, knowingly did something in order to gain an advantage, but he didn't break a rule because it's not his responsibility to remind the other guy, right? So he purposely, like in a kind of scummy way, was like, yeah, I'm not going to remind this guy about his trigger until after he draws his card, and then I can be like, okay, now you have to do it. Well, so what's really interesting about the whole thing is then it goes, okay, so you have to go ahead and discard this card or discard your hand. That starts a new stack because the activated ability, discard your hand. Uh, and so the guy who needed to discard his hand goes, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to tap 3 mana, play this as an instant, gives my creature +2 on this. I go ahead and discard this hand, and this creature has flying. My opponent has 8 life left. It was a 6 creature +2. That's 8. I go and tap and attack it. He doesn't have anything that can block it, as far as I know. It deals 8 damage, and I win. It's just kind of, I don't know. It was this weird, like, twists and turns, like 5 because it's like, okay, who broke the rules? Did somebody cheat here? Oh, okay, we have a rule that was broken, but nobody actually cheated, and like, how do we resolve this? And okay, here's how we resolve it. And then the guy's just like, well, and I win the game. Like, we could spend 20 minutes discussing all this, and it really didn't matter. Because now I don't know if, because he had to discard during his upkeep, does the fact that he waited until after, if that card had been in his hand, it was an instant, so you can cast an instant anytime, right? Like, you have, like, priority or whatever. Um, so because it's an activated ability, or it's a trigger on a card, you know, do you get the ability to then respond to that trigger with an instant? And so would it have then made any difference that that happened after he drew? I don't know. It's an interesting question. Uh, Maybe it doesn't make any difference. And maybe it was a card he drew. Look at that. Vision Charm. $1.05. I don't think I had any other Vision Charms. But come on. Ew, you know what? My phone is about to die, so We might only do our visions cards. I mean, do I have anything just in case this dies? I don't think I have anything else that's worth anything. We just have two more cards to scan here. Da, 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 da. Okay. 5 copies. That we're going to go ahead and close down the connection with so $73 worth of cards there. Okay. So $73 worth of cards in visions. Unfortunately, we'll see if we charge a little bit. They can do Weatherlight, but meanwhile we'll go ahead and get these. So Vision Charm from the Vision set. So Rainbow, Ifrit, Phyrexian Walker, Snake Basket, 4 flooded shorelines. Um, that just doesn't really seem like a great card to me because you pay 2 mana, and then for 2 mana, and you have to return 2 islands you control to your hand. You return target creature to the owner's hand. I guess if you haven't played a mana that or a land that turn, then you can go ahead and do that. Return, you know, the creature to your opponent's hand, and then play one of the lands that you just put back in your hand. So maybe you're only losing 1 land, really. Well, I guess tap 2. So you would tap 2 islands, for your 2 blue mana. You then return those 2 tapped lands, and then play one of them back, and then can tap it again for another 1 mana. So really, you're down. If you haven't didn't have any lands to play, you're down 1 mana and 1 land that you then have to play next turn. Um, so I guess maybe it doesn't make a huge difference. Dude, just kind of feel like this. I mean, it's only $1 card, but 3 mana for 2/2. Yes, when it comes into play, you destroy target artifact. Maybe just there's not a whole lot of creatures that destroy artifacts. So it's something else that can't get blocked all the way. So let's go ahead and get these in sleeves. I mean, I guess this is an example of I'm not like making up what I'm pulling here or pulling out of this because yeah, I didn't even have a single card over $5 so far or in the stream for 45 minutes. And I think I have a recording because I went through a couple sets prior to doing streams and stuff, and just a recording to see how it looks. I'll probably redo them, but just because I didn't have a good setup. But like went through what was this? Was it Tempest? No, Fallen Empires. Like Fallen Empires went through a ton of cards in Fallen Empires. I mean not 700, but a decent number. And the result was two cards that were over $1. Right? So almost nothing. So I am going to go ahead and I'm on my phone now. Okay, I know we're only at 2% battery, but I kind of want to. So there's the Vision, $73. Uh, we did Ice Age last night. We did Mirage, or I say last night, early in the morning. Today. We did Mirage right before we did Visions. Um, some of these I'll probably delete and redo. So like I have 485 cards here, or so 336 cards in Visions. So about half the size of the other ones. Like revised, I have this 485 cards. I actually that was the first kind of set I really, or really rares and mythics that I pulled out from newer sets. Was the first ones I kind of went through, but revised. I had 485 cards that I went through as I was kind of starting to get stuff set up. Found probably two or three times as many more revised. So that'll be interesting to go through. I'll probably delete that and go through from the start. And the Tempest of Fallen, I'll probably go through and do that again, but just so you can kind of see what's what I had found before. Can't really see that well right here, but there's some cards. Top three in here were Tempest, right? Uh, and the only card over $5 was his one uh, statistically. So we'll probably wait to go through that because there wasn't a whole lot in those. Besides for this Shadow Rift was interesting to find. I found 9 copies of that when I was going through Tempest, just because it was a common card. Um, and there was just a random force that's up there worth money right now. Um, anyway, we'll go through that at some point, but just kind of wanted to show that, even though I've kind of stopped displaying the phone screen just to save battery now. So, but anyway, I think we'll go ahead and stop this streaming. I'll go ahead and edit the title before I put it up there that it's not actually Weatherlight, it's just MTG Visions. So, but the third set we've gone through. So, I'll be tomorrow, or I guess it's today now. I'll do some more sets. Maybe do maybe get into the revised stuff. Going to be interesting doing. I think there's like I want to say there's a Renaissance and Chronicles. I know Chronicles is one of them, where it's like reprints of other sets, but they're white border, and it's not easy to tell. There's like fourth edition Chronicles and something else where they were reprints of other sets. And it's not actually that easy to tell which is which for the sets. Um, so that'll be interesting to try go through when I get those out. Know if I'll be doing those tomorrow or maybe it'll be Sunday. But